Welcome to day 401 of our Deso journey. I'm Ed Krasenstein here with my twin brother Brian. And remember, these videos are sponsored by NFT Tech. They are an investor in DesoFi. So Brian, before we get to some of the news today, do you want to tell everyone what the Deso Diamond question of the day is?
Yeah, sure. Just answer this question in the comments below this video on Deso, and we'll give you a bunch of diamonds, usually 3 or 4. Today's question is, what would make you more active on Deso and why? And for me personally, I just think more people would make me more active. It gives me more content to interact and engage with. But we're both pretty active on Deso already, so it will be hard to make us too much more active.
Yeah, but like activity, I think spurns activity. The more activity you have, the more activity you're gonna have. So it's kind of like this giant cycle where once you can really ignite it, I think you can keep pouring a little bit of gas on the fire. I think it'll keep going. But like we saw with BitClout in the early days, we had that huge eruption at first, but then the fuel kind of ran out. So I think what you got to do is you got to get people on, get the community engaged, and keep giving it things, keep giving them reasons to stick around.
Right. Yeah, I agree. But I want to jump to High Key. High Key made a really good point yesterday, and it was in the form of a question, really. And I kind of want to address it from our perspective. I know we talked about it before, but they asked if DeSo can fall much lower than $25. And they wrote, if the treasury is around $200 million and the market cap is around $230 million, isn't it reasonable to assume it won't go lower? Trying to rationalize buying a lot more. And this is my opinion, and this is not investment advice at all. I think if the treasury is $200 million, I can't see it falling too much below that treasury unless people really lose confidence in the way DeSo is spending that money. We already have, if you take out the cash and the value of the company is zero after that because you subtract it from the market cap, can you say that what DeSo has built thus far is worth zero? And I don't think anybody can argue that point. It's definitely worth much more than zero without the cash that they have. And I'm looking at it from a kind of a perspective of like a corporation, like investing in a stock. The way you'd analyze a stock is, say Apple had $1 billion of cash on hand and their market cap was $980 million. It would be pretty much of a no-brainer because they could buy back their shares with that $1 billion for higher than the cost of the market cap. But what if Apple was Enron back in the 90s? I guess it was the 90s. And they had $1 billion in cash. It could be trading under $1 billion because the market would say, we don't trust this company spending this $1 billion in a way that's going to actually make us money, especially since they're under federal investigation or something like that. So unless you don't have any confidence at all in the way Natter is handling things, in the direction of that DeSo is going, I think it's hard to argue that the market cap should be any lower than what the cash on hand is.
Yeah, and like I mean, one example could be, oh, I think the SEC is going to come after DeSo and they're going to spend all that money on legal fees. Not that that's going to happen, but like there could be reasons that that money needs to be spent or ways that money could be spent that's not beneficial to the DeSo community, not beneficial to the value of DeSo as a blockchain. But it's hard to imagine a scenario in such that actually happens. You never know for sure, but I think it's just hard to imagine seeing it drop below the market.
Well, remember markets are always forward looking too. So I mean, there could be somebody that comes along and they have this rationale that, yeah, they have $200 million, but in 5 years from now, they're probably only going to have 75 million. And if DeSo doesn't grow by then I mean, the market cap should be 75 million instead of 200 million. So I think it's all kind of a game of algorithms and how you think things are going to move forward. But I do think High Key brought up a good point that it shouldn't there should be a pretty strong floor at the cash on hand value.
I mean, worst case is you're getting in basically at what the average VC probably got in at, right?
Right. Yeah, I
So
would.
you're getting in at that same low floor that some of these original people got in at. So, I mean, if you still believe in Deso, I mean, look at everything that Deso has done since all those VCs invested into it. It's so much more of a mature blockchain. It's so much further along in the maturity process that it's like if you had an option as a VC back in the day to say, okay, I want the option to buy it in a year and a half from now at this price, rather than actually buying it now, you would definitely take that, knowing that you could look at it in a year and a half and be like, okay, I want to buy it at the same price. So
Yeah, and and
you can
and
get a good
something
deal.
that something I did want to point out is that I did have the opportunity to speak to one of the early investors of Deso just last week, and I basically asked them like, what's going through your mind? Like, are you happy right now? And they were very confident in the future. They were very happy about the way things are going, and they just stressed patience. We need to have patience. Things aren't going to happen overnight. So that's just something to consider. Obviously, not investment advice. Make your own decisions. But just I think that was a very good question by
Yeah,
Heike.
not investment advice from me either whatsoever. I'm just giving my opinion, and my opinion's really worthless, I think, in most of these cases. But do we really know for sure what the balance is on their balance sheet? Do we know how much they've spent? Probably not, right?
We have, you can see how much Bitcoin they have in their wallet. I forget what the total was. Bitcoin is up slightly, I believe, or it might be actually where it was about. I think when it launched, it was at 35,000 or so. So it's slightly up right now. We can kind of guess what they spent. They spent 10 million, 11 million from the Octane Fund. I'm guessing they have probably a couple million in legal fees probably by now. That's just a
They've
guess.
done some marketing. We don't know what they
They've
paid
paid
for.
salaries. I mean, there's definitely a lot going on, but I don't think it's come close to touching more than probably like 20-30 million dollars.
All right, so let's move on. Yesterday, I guess over the weekend, Yuga Labs. So for those who don't know who Yuga Labs is, they are the owners of the IP for Bored Ape Yacht Club, Meebits, CryptoPunks, and Other Side Media, which is like this new venture they're doing where they're creating the Other Side metaverse, which is basically a metaverse built around Bored Apes and all these NFT projects. Yesterday, they actually had. Oh, I should also say they're also behind ApeCoin, which is a token built on Ethereum. But they had their launch of the Otherdeed NFTs, and Otherdeed NFTs are essentially deeds for the virtual land and the other side metaverse that they're building. And this metaverse, like so many people are super excited about because it is coming from the Bored Ape Yacht Club and CryptoPunk owners of the IP. So that's really awesome. So many people are so excited about it. But even though they raised $320 million in the virtual land sale over the weekend, it crashed EtherScan. And that's how much interest there was. The gas fees shot up so high. The gas fees are astronomical.
Yeah,
So
I want to jump in here. I saw a report that there was at least one gas fee of over $10,000 to mint
what?
one of these things. Yeah,
Whoa, that's
it's nuts. And I think the total gas fees for this mint was estimated at don't quote me on this, but I think it was around $110 million. So they earned 320 million after the ape coin dropped a little bit overnight. I think it was more like 280 million. And then people paid another over $110 million in gas fees. So about more than a third actually is in gas fees, not more than a third of what they raised because it was separate from what they raised, but about a third of what they raised aside from that was in gas fees for the Ethereum blockchain.
they could be doing all this on Deso. Like they could be doing they have a DAO. The DAO could be run on DAO when it launches using Deso DAO tokens. Uh, Also, they made a tweet though. So it seems like they're kind of getting pissed off at Ethereum. They're kind of like, okay, Ethereum is obviously not going to work for this scale of a project. So they made a tweet, and that tweet read, seems abundantly clear that ApeCoin will need to migrate to its own chain in order to properly scale. They then encouraged their own DAO to start thinking in this direction. So they want to think about moving ApeCoin off of Ethereum and perhaps onto its own chain. What's interesting here, and some people brought this up on Twitter, Now, a coin technically on a blockchain is money of its own chain, like Ethereum is, Bitcoin is, that they're the currency built on its own chain, where tokens are essentially currencies that live on a chain, like ApeCoin. So ApeCoin is really a token, not a
Like
coin.
Krasenstein coin, right?
But let me just continue. So ApeCoin is a token, not really a coin. Why is it called ApeCoin? Is that just, did they just like the name better? Or did they ultimately have plans to make it a coin and move away from Ethereum? And instead of being an Ethereum token like they are now, move on to their own blockchain? I don't know. It's kind of like a conspiracy theory, like, oh, this was all pre-planned. I don't know how much I buy into that theory, but you never know. It's obvious that they need a better solution. Ethereum just can't scale correctly. There's been, they could create their own chain, or they could create a level 2. They could be a level 2 on, another chain. I don't know. There's other chains like Cardano. There's other chains like Solana. But ultimately, the best chain for something like this, without creating your all new chain, would be Deso, because it has such low fees and it has such huge scalability.
Yeah, here's a question to the developers out there and maybe the core team. If they were to do this, had this huge mint on Deso, would the Deso blockchain actually be able to handle it? Like, would it overload the blockchain? Is the blockchain ready for something like that? And I think that's an important question, because what if there was a major project that came on board? Is Deso ready for it? And I don't know. Like I'm not I don't know the technicals of it. I don't know how fast things can scale up. And I'm not really talking about the scalability of what you can put on the chain, but just the massive number of transactions and volume of users that suddenly come on. Like I wonder if it could handle it. And I don't know, so people could, maybe Natter could respond and answer that, or maybe some developers. I know Tyne or It's Aditya. I know all those people are pretty up and up on the blockchain and the technology.
Yeah, and M. Van Halen, I mean, he could answer as
I
well.
should just text him and ask him, but
Yeah,
I want to just point out Natter actually replied to this. Were you going to say anything?
no, yeah, Natter replied to the tweet that Yuga Labs made.
Yeah, so he tweeted a reply, not a reply directly, but he made his own post and quoted the Yuga Labs post. And it said, "Breaking, thank you, Yuga Labs, for choosing Deso as your new blockchain, Deso protocol. Looking forward to supporting your infinite state apps with near free transactions and storage. If we can power popular social networks, you can be sure we can power the future of the ape ecosystem."
And then I saw this. I saw this morning. And I was like, "Holy cow! Did this really just happen?" And then I realized he was just.
And then he replied. He replied to tweet. So to his credit, and he said, he put in parentheses, "Me 6 months from now." So he's basically foreseeing the future. Now, I don't know. I don't know if this is the best approach you take. I think the best approach would be to just contact Yuga Labs, try to get an in with Yuga Labs and sell them on the technology. I think he's probably going for some sort of mass viral approach where everybody would start reposting it, and Yuga Labs would be like, "What's this?" and then find it out. I don't know. I think there's debate on both sides of whether this was the best move or not. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the best move would be to try and contact somebody high up at Yuga Labs and explain to them that, we have the solution. We can show it to you. Why don't you let us fly out there, sit down with you guys, explain everything to you, explain how the blockchain works, how you could even move your DAO over to DAO once that launches next month. Have ApeCoin on Deso with its own DAO coin essentially, and you can run everything on the Deso blockchain. You have these huge mints all on Deso. We already have NFT platforms built on Deso. You entering the Deso space would definitely mean that Coinbase and OpenSea will open up Deso on their platforms as well, because they're going to want to have your NFTs on their platform. So I think that would be the best approach. I think being sarcastic, maybe you're looked at as more of like a joker. I mean, I think it's funny what he did, but I don't know. I don't know if that's the approach I would take.
Yeah, I get where he's coming from. Like I think a lot of this stuff happens, especially around crypto, where people joke around and stuff. So I don't know. I do think that a more professional meeting, trying to set up a meeting, and I know it's probably very difficult. I know the guys behind Yuga Labs are incredibly busy right now, and probably everybody from every chain is probably contacting them right now, trying to set something up. But I think ultimately Deso does have most of the tools that Yuga Labs would need to run a DAO, mint NFTs cheaply, efficiently, quickly, and to support an ecosystem around them, such as social, that so you can have conversations around them on chain. So it's all on chain. So Deso is the perfect tool for them, I think. Just whether they will find out. I found out this before they choose something else. And I think that can be said for Coinbase and OpenSea and all the other platforms that could possibly integrate with Deso. So it's kind of just a race against time. Like, will they find out about Deso before something else comes out and catches their attention? I think Deso is so far ahead, especially with hypersync and the
Yeah,
hardcore.
but I mean, also ApeCoin, they might want to have their own chain and like run everything on their own chain that's run by their own DAO. I don't know. I mean, that might bring up more legal issues if you're running it all on your own chain. So it's hard to say. But I mean, I definitely hope, and I definitely hope that Yuga Labs becomes aware of Deso and they have the opportunity to really look in depth at what it has to offer them before they make any other decisions. Hopefully somebody in the DAO will, mention it, throw it out there for the rest of the DAO to examine.
Yeah, for sure. So I want to quickly get on to Tony Lewis, Deso No Code. They're doing great things. They've been doing great things for several months now. But they announced that they will soon be revealing a Deso Notion.so integration. So if you don't know what Notion.so is, it's basically a project management and note-taking software. Lots of people use it. It's like, I think it's a $10 billion company, but they're going to be putting forth a script so that they can integrate Deso into it somehow. We don't know exactly what they're going to be doing, but Tony posted, if you use Notion as your main productivity tool, like we do, just wait till we show you everything that we want to do with it. So I'm excited about it. I don't actually use Notion, but I've known of it for a while just because a lot of people that I'm around use it. It could be big if they do it in the right way, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And I love what Tony Lewis and Deso No Code have been doing. I think they're really onto something, and things are super slow right now, but I think it's going to pick up and they're going to be at the top of that segment of the market once it does.
Yeah. So top hashtags in the last 24 hours, number 1 was Deso, 2 was crypto, 3 was photography, 4 was music, and 5 was NFT. All ones we've seen before, nothing too exciting.
Why wasn't verify DOZ up
DOZ,
there? What
I
the
don't
heck?
know.
Sorry, DOZ, our marketing didn't work for you.
I guess our reach isn't big enough. But something to note is that DOZ's video is the one that got the most views ever. So his video that when he came on our show yesterday received more views than any video yet. I think it has something to do with the YouTube algorithms, or maybe DOZ is just super popular on Deso.
He's just such a cool looking guy. Everybody saw the thumbnail and they're like, wow, this guy looks super cool. I think I'm going to check out what he has to say.
That could be it. So the last 24 hours, the top earners on Deso, according to Open Prosper, in the last 24 hours, $3,977 was earned by 1,239 creators. That number, 1,239, is slightly above average, I think, over the course of the last few weeks. 10 creators earned at least 1 Deso. That's about average. 4 creators earned at least 10 Deso. And those 4 creators, 3 of them were DAOs. DAO earned $1,193, followed by Supernovas, which is, of course, they're running their own DAO and selling DAO coins via NFTs. The Tapes was number 3. Number 4 was DOZ's Wavepool X, not Wavpool X. And they, of course, are selling their own NFTs, which will be transferable for DAO coins. And then after Wavepool X, it was Deso Trolls Creator Fund, followed by Speaking Light, Rhubarb, Cryptographer, and D Harmon. Oh, and then Lamy. So I forgot Lamy. Congrats to all of them.
So welcome back to Douglas. According to Open Prosper, Douglas had been gone for 67 days. He has come back. He's a big music producer, big Web3 guy, NFT guy. He returned and he made a post saying, testing, testing. Is this thing still on in regards to Deso? He also sent some DMs to Dharmesh, and he also updated his profile. And I know it seems like we're like hackers or something because we know he's DMing Dharmesh, but that's what happens on the blockchain. You can see every DM between people. Dharmesh also sent a DM to him yesterday. So they're having a conversation. What could this conversation be about? I don't know.
Good question.
Fortunately for Deso and for everybody on Deso, you can't read the messages between people. That's all encrypted, but you can see that they're having private messages between each other.
Yeah, and maybe one of them want to reply and give us the heads up, but I doubt it, and I don't expect that. They're private messages for a reason.
But yeah, welcome back, Douglas. It's great to have you back. You're an OG of Deso. His post got a lot of engagement yesterday too.
Yeah.
And I think that's all we have for today. We'd love to know your thoughts on Yuga Labs and what they should do. So definitely chime in and answer the question of the day, which is, Brian, it's what would make you more active on Deso? So
and why?
And why? Let us know, and you'll get some diamonds. Talk to everyone tomorrow. Have a great rest of your weekend.